to Clarity on Fire, a podcast for people who know what they don't want out of their life and career, but aren't sure what they'd rather be doing.
In a world where it's easy to exist, but hard to feel alive, we, Kristen
and Rachel,
two certified life and career coaches, are here to help you cut through the information overload, get unstuck, and focus not just on how you can have a career you're passionate about, but how to create a whole life that feels fulfilling.
So join us here, where we serve up inspiration and down-to-earth wisdom in a way that only two best friends can.
We want you to experience the relief of knowing that, yes, you're allowed to want more out of your life and career.
And no, you don't have to wander through the dark anymore. Our job is to light the fire that shows you the way. Let's go. Greetings.
Hello.
Different location again. Actually, just back to one of my old
location.
One of my old haunts, the nursery. Okay, so I would like to start off this episode by acknowledging someone who gave us a review.
Yay! Our favorite.
Okay, do you know what I really hate about Apple Podcasts? As much as I love Apple Podcasts, when you try to read a review, you can't see the title of the review. Like, it cuts it off and I can't click on it. Like, you can't expand it. And I even went on iTunes and I was like, well, what if I just log into iTunes like on my computer and can I see the whole thing? No.
Why bother having a title if you can't read the whole thing?
Anyway, so
weird.
The title was Love the Chemistry and the CO. So I'm like, coaching?
Sure.
Courage.
Courage.
I don't know.
And the cool
corpses.
Oh,
I'm just any word starting with CO could be a thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, so maybe
but loves the chemistry. We know that.
Maybe they'll tell us what it was. Email me. contact@clarityonfire.com.
Burning question answered.
Okay. It's from Sassy Healthy Fit. And they say, Rachel and Kristen are a lot of fun and bring a great mix of spiritual woo and also practical ideas to live your best life. Really loving this podcast.
I feel
5
like
stars.
that's the balance we're going for. So I'm glad we're achieving it. Spiritual woo and practical knowledge. Yes and yes. We walk that line well, I think. We try.
And then you're going to listen to this episode and potentially be like, never mind. Because... Okay, so this is a side chat. For those of you who might have only recently discovered us, I don't know, it happens every week, I assume. And this is the first episode or one of the first you're listening to. Every month we sit down and we have very little idea of what we're going to talk about. We usually just have a theme or some kind of Kristen's favorite word topic. And we just hit record and we have a conversation about it between friends and coaches.
Remind everyone where side chat came from. It's been a very long time since
it's not from Franklin Delano Roosevelt's fireside chats, which were a staple of the war times or whatever, post-war times. No, it's Clarity on Fire's side chat.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so clever. I can't even.
Well, I just realized we hadn't mentioned that maybe since the beginning of the podcast. So yeah, Clarity on Fireside Chat.
We've mentioned that a number of times, but I don't expect your memory to hold up that,
As we all know,
it doesn't typically.
I'm a little bit like Dory. Short-term memory is hard. You should
long-term memory also. It would seem.
That's true. You should see the number of reminders I have on my phone on any given day. Like, remember to do this, remember to do that. And it works. Find your systems.
I don't use the reminders app. So
that's wild to me.
Don't need it.
Have you ever even opened it?
Yeah. Not in years though.
Crazy.
I have a sauna. We use a sauna for.
I use that too.
Yeah. That's all I really want.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is a side chat, and the inspiration for what I want to talk about came from as it often does, a conversation I had with one of my clients. And I don't even know where to begin because this is a pretty deep esoteric thought, but I guess you just we just have to dive in.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing else to do. Okay. So when you've been a coach for 10 years, focusing on helping people get clear on their career path, you get to a point incredibly frustrated with how fixated everyone is on needing to figure out what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
It is everyone's obsession. I mean, not just people we work with, culturally, at least in America, and I think in most parts of the Western kind of world.
Yeah, I don't know if it's true
in
everywhere, but certainly in America, certainly in several, several countries where probably our listeners are coming from, to be honest with you. We put so much emphasis on what we do. It becomes an identifier.
Yes. It's not really what do you do? It's basically when you're asking what do you do, what you're really asking is who are you?
And that's why most people answer with I
am.
What do you do? I'm a writer. I'm a marketing professional.
They don't say, oh, I do marketing.
Yeah, no,
I am a marketer.
We identify as the thing that we do.
Okay. What I reminded this client was that I'm not sure that it's healthy to center something in your life to that degree. And whether or not it's healthy, we'll put that aside for a second, and we'll revisit that question later. I know it's recent. This obsession with centering career as the thing that's most important in your life, around which everything else revolves, around which your whole identity spans and functions. I told her that in my best guesstimation, this is within the last 100-ish years, not even, to be honest, that work has been so central to most people's identities and lives. That if you go back hundreds of years, if you go back 2,000 years, that wasn't a thing. And so I asked her, what do you think it was 2,000 years ago, 500 years ago?
What was at the center?
What was at the center for most people was something different. It was religion.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of got on my soapbox with her, and I was like, I think this is such a bold declaration, but I'm going to say, I think a lot of us have replaced, like serving or believing in, or like our lives centering around some sort of higher deity with a career. I think our career has become our God. And I think it's a problem.
I think that's true. Think about what gave people a sense of purpose and meaning.
Yes.
For most of human history. And it wasn't the work you did was just to survive for the most part.
Yeah. If you did work at all.
Right. We till the fields to get the food to feed our family.
Yes.
And maybe feed a few people in the community.
You didn't get to think about whether or not you wanted to be doing that. It was just something that we did. And we didn't really, I don't think, set much store, as far as our identity goes, by it. It was just a task that you did.
Because somebody had to do the task in order for the rest of us to survive. And so we took on tasks to survive as a family, as a community, as a town, whatever role you took on, there was a need for it. And so you just did that because it needed to be done.
But where we found meaning and purpose was in something else. And I think in different cultures and different societies, listen, we're not anthropologists. I mean, hey, it would be great to talk to someone about this who could either confirm or deny my speculations.
That'd be fascinating.
But I think for a lot of cultures, where we derived meaning and purpose was either from the community itself, like from the people or the tribe or whatever that you were living with, or more than likely, it was from some connection you had with a higher power. You can call that God, you can call that any number of things, and different cultures would have called it different things too. But that's where you got your meaning and your purpose and your understanding of why you were here and what you were doing here from. And I think that the more our world became industrialized, and enlightened, right? We went through the Enlightenment, science and rationality, became front and center, the less and less people turned toward things like religion for their meaning and their purpose, which I'm not here to either like I'm not here to judge one way or the other. I'm just observing. I think that's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And so the more we turned away from spirituality or religion as the thing around which our whole life was centered, we replaced it with career, with work, with what we did. Because I think humans need and want identity so badly, and they want purpose and meaning so badly that they have to try to find it somewhere.
That is a human need.
Yes.
That is clear. We all, without that, we can survive, but we're withering inside.
Yes.
Our minds and bodies need activity. Our soul needs purpose. And without that, we're grasping. And that is so much of what we see as coaches is people who are dissatisfied with with that bigger question of what's the point of my life? What's the point of what I'm doing and why I'm here? I'm not feeling fulfilled. I'm not feeling a deep sense of meaning. Better get a new career.
Yeah.
That'll solve that problem. And so not only do we conflate the two, we decide that what I'm doing as a career will give me that sense of purpose and meaning almost on a silver platter, like delivered to me. But then we fixate so much on it and we agonize over trying to figure that out because we're convinced on some subconscious level. I'm not saying anyone's coming to coaching and being like, this is my God. My career is my God. I do not think that's happening.
Acting like that's the
but
case.
I do think subconsciously we've put it on such a pedestal and given it so much weight and meaning in our life because we don't know where else to find that we end up creating a lot of anxiety for something that work was never really meant to be.
No. The reason that this happened, I think there's probably more than one, but I think the most clear and identifiable reason that this happened is because our career is where we spend the most time. If a career was in some alternate universe, a thing that you could somehow only spend 2 hours doing every day, and that was all you needed to do, I don't think we would put so much weight or importance on it.
Well, it's why we don't put that much weight on our hobbies. Our hobbies are fun things that we spend maybe a couple hours a week reading a book or doing yoga or the things that we just enjoy for the pleasure of it, but we can't do full time because either it doesn't pay well enough or whatever. So we don't think our hobbies are the end all be all of who we are and the point of life.
Like, what if we lived in a world where everyone only worked 2 hours a day? And that's all you ever needed to work. And you made as much money as you could possibly make in just 2 hours, and you weren't allowed to work more. Like, that was it. You only are allowed to work 2 hours a day. I think we would obsess over how we're spending the rest of our day, and it would be nothing to do with career.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we tend to fixate on whatever is probably eating up the most of our time.
And that makes sense because our time is our life.
How you spend your time is how you spend your life.
And so it makes sense. It's actually completely understandable that you would want the thing that takes up the most time in your week, in your month, in your life,
AKA eats up the most of your life here on earth,
to feel meaningful and fulfilling. And don't get us wrong. We're not saying forget about meaning and fulfillment in your career.
Not telling you to forget about it.
That goes counter to everything we've ever said. But there's a difference in I feel and believe that my life and who I am has meaning and there's purpose to just me existing on this planet. And I want to do work that helps me express that and do things that I can feel satisfied and feel content with what I've contributed versus without my work, I don't know who I am and I don't know what the point of me and my life is. Yeah. And so better go find work that inherently gives me that sense of meaning and purpose.
Yeah.
That is dangerous.
In fact, let me be clear. I think putting anything on that high of a pedestal is dangerous.
We've compared careers to codependent relationships before.
A lot.
And that warrants another mention here because I know many people do this with romantic relationships too.
Who am I without that person, without this relationship? Like,
That person gives me meaning. That person makes me feel whole.
That person gives me all the joy. And without them, I'm going to be nothing and feel nothing and like have nothing.
Yeah. I hate the concept like my other half or like I'm whole with this person. No, you are whole.
Right.
And then it's great to be in relationship with somebody else who is whole.
Right.
You are whole whether or not you are working. If you never worked another day in your life, you never made another dollar from your work, you would still have purpose and meaning in your life. You would still be here for a reason that matters. You still have value.
Yeah.
So if you are a whole person who believes in their own value and their own inherent worth and that their life has meaning, and then you're doing work that it feels like a natural aligned extension of that, then great. That's a really healthy relationship with your work.
Yes.
If you need it to make you feel whole, that's the same thing as being in a codependent relationship.
I mean, it's also the same thing as centering religion, to the point where you don't know who you are without some sort of rules or scripture or whatever telling you who to be and who you are. Like, I don't know that that's healthy regardless of what we're talking about. And I'm not saying that 2000 years ago, we were better off when we were centering something that wasn't work. I think that we've always needed it. We just keep replacing it with different things when nothing external is ever going to give that to you in a satisfying way. Yeah. Okay. So I share all of that first and foremost to set the tone that I don't think that our obsession with, our career is always healthy. And that if you're obsessed or really desperate to figure out what am I going to do and who am I going to be, I think you might need to stop and take some difficult stock and ask how codependent am I with the idea of my career? Would I be okay with who I am if I didn't have a career? Would I be good with me if I didn't have a relationship or if I didn't have, whatever?
I can feel the discomfort because I've heard this from clients who
I know
I've heard it from clients who maybe they're becoming a parent and they're going to take some time off of working, but they're struggling with who am I without that? Or people who have gotten laid off and they over-identified with what they did. And now they feel the depression sinks in. Yeah. And the sense of overwhelm and loss of self sets in. You can see this because of those phenomena. How many stories have we heard, especially in the past couple of years, people losing their job? Some of it was pandemic related. There was some of it was even self-created, but then the aftermath can be an intense, a personal crisis, because when you can't answer the question, what do you do with I'm a blank? Or when you get posed that question, or you get posed that sense of how do you describe yourself? And you don't have a clear thing to point to, it can feel like this weird gaping hole and you don't know how to fill it. So I'm begging you not to fill it with the next job. If some of you are feeling like, I know some of you are feeling like you just don't have that sense of meaning and purpose. And that's probably a reason why you found us, frankly.
Yeah.
I really want to warn you off of imagining the next job is going to give it to you.
No.
The next job can't give you that. You have to get it for yourself first and then express it.
Yeah,
through
the career,
your work.
The relationship, the religion, whatever we've been centering is an expression of it's an outlet for us to express our meaning and to express our purpose and to express our desires, to express our passions. It is not the vehicle through which those things are delivered. It is a vehicle through which we can express our best selves. So if you do not know what it even friggin' means to express your best self, because you don't even fucking know what your best self is, that is where we must start. Because otherwise, all you're ever going to be doing is worshiping false idols. Sorry. I'm just leaning in. Like,
yes,
but that's but like
a career can be a false idol that we worship. I've seen
it. And it's so disempowering. That's why I care about this, is because it's very disempowering to worship something outside of yourself, believing that it has the power to grant you happiness or not, that it has the power to grant you purpose or meaning or not. Nothing outside of you has the power to grant you that. You have that power already.
It's incredibly disempowering. And maybe what I care the most about is it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. You can keep trying. I've never seen it work.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't. It might feel like it works for a short time. It doesn't work sustainably.
Yeah, then it crashes and burns. Yeah, sure. You meet someone and you're like head over heels, starry-eyed, heart eye emoji'd over them. And then because you've lost your sense of self, because you've thrown everything headfirst into some relationship that had no foundation, and then the person ghosts you and you're left a heap on the freaking floor. Yeah, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. You give that power away. You give your sense of purpose as a human being away to a job, to a person. You don't actually fill it. All you've done is give it away for a little while. And unless you are with that person till the end of your days, or unless you are in that job until the end of your days, it's going to go away. And then what? And frankly, even if you're with that person, even if you're in that job till the end of your days, you never fully believed that you were whole without it.
You're never calm. You're never confident. You're never grounded.
There's always anxiety about what if it does go away? Then what?
Yes.
And
who am I without that? There's always that underlying fear of who am I going to be if it goes away? And so there's always fear.
So it just doesn't work. It just doesn't. It's not going to get you what you want. What you want is to feel purposeful, meaningful, of value, valued. That is never going to give you that feeling. It might give you a false facade of it, kind of give you the ghost of it, but it's never going to fully scratch that itch until you decide, this is who I am, whether or not I ever work another day in my life, whether or not I'm ever in another relationship for the rest of my life. This is who I am. This is the meaning that I have and that I care about. This is the value that I bring and want to bring into the world, regardless of how. Once that is something that you feel solid in, everything else just gets to be the icing on the cake. Now it's just, what are some cool ways for me to go out into the world and do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And just be myself and bring the value that I inherently already have.
Yeah.
Plus, that is so much more attractive.
I was about to say.
Not only does it feel better and you actually feel whole with or without the thing, but people are going to be scrambling to bring you on board because that is inherently more attractive than the desperation of, I need you to make me whole. Ooh, nobody likes that.
No, it's stinky.
Gross.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I also remind you guys that it's not just that this is a relatively new thing within the last 100, not even years, that we've been centering career to this like insane degree, but it's something that other cultures are not currently doing. Like currently there are places where this is not as important. I mean, I'm not French, I'm not Italian, but I have a sense that the French and the Italian are better at this than us.
I feel like I was meant to be born an Italian for so many reasons. But one of them is because
the cheese, the pasta,
the wine, all of it.
The laissez-faire attitude when it comes to working.
That in particular.
I just don't think that they, from what I've gathered and what I've read and what I've seen, I don't think that they're quite as like uptight and obsessed with their career as their
family.
Identity.
It's more about
just living a good life,
enjoying your time in your life and milking the enjoyment out of every moment.
And a job is one way through which you can do that, but it's not the deity. We don't worship it. If anything, we worship pasta here. We don't worship your job. Honestly. I mean, if I had to choose every damn day, pasta.
Every damn day.
That's my God.
But yeah, I think there are good models of a healthier relationship to work than, especially in America, but in beyond just America, a lot of cultures, a lot of countries have put it up on this pedestal of this is what defines you. This is how you know that you are living an impactful, meaningful, successful life, is if your career looks great and if it's providing all these things.
And once again, how many people who have gotten to that place are actually happy? Not a lot. Because again, it doesn't work. See our earlier point.
Right. It doesn't work.
Okay. So I guess I didn't know where this was going to go, but I think we need to talk about what does work, because this doesn't. Centering and worshiping career doesn't work.
Well, I think that's the question that many of you are going to shy away from and immediately put out of your mind as soon as the podcast is over. But I want to really encourage you to ask yourself this question and have to articulate an answer.
Okay.
Who am I and what is my value if I wasn't working?
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to actually not just, I do the same thing. I'm listening to podcasts. I'm like, oh yeah, that's an interesting question. And then I move on with my day. No, I want you to actually pause and think, how would I answer that question?
Like sit in 10 solid. I'm like 10, like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Like, I want you to sit in 10 Mississippi's worth of silence on that question. Please proceed. Okay, they're back. Okay.
Because I think it's going to create a lot of anxiety for some of you.
Oh, hell yeah. They're going to be like crickets. Every Mississippi was just crickets chirping, a chorus of them. And they're freaking out.
And if that is the response that your brain is having to that question, that means more than anything, you really need to be with it for a while.
Yeah. Well,
like more than 10 Mississippis.
Yeah. You also need some coaching, probably.
I mean,
just be clear.
This is why I don't necessarily use the analogy of a job as a deity. But maybe I'll start doing that in my introductory calls with anyone who is going to.
It's a little triggery, but that's why I'm using it. I like to trigger people into reckoning with themselves. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you got to shake people up a little bit, scare them a little bit.
I think we've done a good enough job of nobody's expecting us to be the let's get you the next job coaches at this point.
Or let's be really nice and like just be like super sweet and handle you with like little kid gloves or whatever. No, we're not going to do that.
No,
keep it real.
But I do feel like some people are surprised when they go through the coaching process that it is so deep. Like they're like, whoa, we're getting into some deeper stuff than I ever even really knew about me and who I am and what I care about and the life that I want and how I get in my own way. The reason that process that we take people through is so deep and intensive is because we're more interested in you answering the first question, which is who am I, whether or not I ever work another day in my life, before you then answer the next question, which is, okay, but then what do I want to be doing next career-wise?
Because now I know who I am. And what does this person really want to do? That person is allowed to have desires. That person is allowed to want to express themselves in any number of ways. But there's no freaking point in trying to have a career if you don't know who wants the career in the first place.
Or why they want it, or what they want out of it, or how it's a reflection of some deeper values that they hold. Yeah. These are all questions you have to answer first. Yeah. And then what do you do becomes a lot easier to answer anyway. So you can't really answer the second question first.
Yeah.
So the coaching process gets to the core of who you are. Now, I'm not saying coaching is the only way to do that. But
no, I don't know if you can hear all of the annoying background going on right now, but it's like my dad was like, yes, let's open as many doors and be as loud and squeaky about it as humanly possible. Okay, whatever. This is the life I'm living right now.
Yeah, you're getting the real life version.
Yeah.
I don't want it to sound like, well, work with us or you'll never answer this question. I don't think that's the only answer. I think there's a lot of ways that you can get to that core truth of who you are and what your value is.
I would like to add another facet of this.
Okay.
Because I don't think people just worship career, or they don't just center a relationship, right? Or whatever, or like religion or whatever it is that we're kind of making our everything. I don't think we do that just because we don't know who we are. That's a huge part of it. I also think we do that because we don't have any sense of like how we feel. And we aren't very good at regulating our own emotions a lot of the time, whether it's because of trauma or just because we haven't been modeled like how to actually process how we think and how we feel. We don't have the right language for it. So often what we'll do is we'll just lean on something outside of us as sort of like an external thing that we use to regulate, the way that sometimes we take drugs to like help balance us out in some way, or to ease our anxiety, or we eat because we need comfort, right? We're trying to regulate an emotion. We do that with relationships. Like we do that with jobs too.
It's why workaholics are usually, they're turning to work because something else internally or something else in their life
is off,
is too hard to think about and to manage.
Yeah.
And so they'd rather work because that feels like a break from the internal world.
Right.
It's why, I mean, workaholism is just a different kind of addiction. Why do people turn to anything that is ultimately harmful to them? It's because it felt better in the moment than their emotional state, or better than the circumstances that they were in. We seek relief. That's what we do as humans. We seek relief, and that's okay.
And some form of, I mean, I know that sounds weird because I think that when we imagine people who are addicts, we don't imagine them as balanced, but I actually do think that's what ultimately they're trying to find, is they're trying to find like a correction for how they feel internally. And so if your internal like emotional system or your regulating system is completely off, or is kind of haphazard, or not functioning incredibly normally or healthily, then you will seek things outside of you to try to regulate yourself. And one of the things that you will turn to in order to do that is work.
Especially because, again, it takes much time. You're giving so much time to it. You want it to be something that
there's more pressure on it to need to, like, you know, you have to regulate more emotions because you're spending so much time at work and it's causing you a lot of emotional distress at times. And so you think, oh my God, well, then the solution is to just find a job that solves all of my emotional problems. The real problem is that you don't know how to regulate your emotions first and foremost, like period. We don't have like a healthy emotional, like operating system in the first place.
And when you do that first, then whatever you choose next career-wise is coming from a place of already being regulated. And now you're making a choice that feels like it's moving you in an exciting direction, versus I'm choosing this because I feel so misaligned, or I feel so drained, or I feel so out of balance that I need something to escape to.
Right. It's a treating the symptom.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a match to the symptom. It's not actually what you really deeply want.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's no wonder that before career, we turn to other things, like, because I mean, humans have always been traumatized people who didn't know how to express themselves or regulate their emotions, right? They needed something to make them feel calm, something to make them feel at ease, something to make them feel like their life had purpose, or like it. We are always going to find something outside of us to turn to, and nothing's ever going to really give us what we deeply need, because what we need is healing.
And then, you know what? One day when the AI is taken over and is running we'll find something else. Maybe we'll go back to religion, or maybe we'll find something else to take the place of it. Yeah. None of it is still ultimately going to be satisfying. You have to be able to answer those, to regulate yourself with healthy things, like regulate your emotional state in a healthy way, and not turn to things that actually ultimately disrupt it more.
Right.
And to be able to feel solid in your own knowing of your own worth, in your own sense of purpose. And then everything else flows from there. No matter what humanity turns to next, or cultures turn to next, it's still always going to be a Band-Aid.
Yeah. Yeah.
So individually, we have to find that sense of groundedness on our own.
Yeah. And I know that you don't want to hear that.
No, that's the hard work.
Most people don't want to hear that. They just want, I mean, no one starts out thinking, oh, I just really want a new job. No one wants to be told what we just said, because what we just said is an incredibly deep, complicated process. And finding a new job seems comparatively like easier and simpler. And it just would be so convenient if that were the answer. If you could just, get all of your meaning and purpose from just finding a job.
And if we were con women, we would tell you that. And it wouldn't matter if it worked or not, because we'd just be interested in solving your immediate problem. But we're not interested in solving your immediate problem. We're interested in solving the problem so that there are no more immediate problems, because you've solved the root issue.
Yeah.
So if we can help you really clearly identify and feel confident in who you are and what you want at your core and your own sense of meaning and value without work, with work, whatever, then everything you choose from then on, not just the next job, but the next series of jobs, the next series of relationships, the next series of anything that you decide becomes pretty easy, pretty clear. You don't have to agonize over anything anymore. It's a fit or it's not a fit. And you're solid in that.
It also makes it easier to not have the thing for a while. I mean, as I can attest to, like,
yep.
You know, we know how long I've been single. I have a whole podcast about it. I don't want that to be true. You know, if you've been listening to this podcast at all, you know that that's not my ultimate goal. And it's caused me a lot of distress in the past. And still, you know, I'm human. So some days but like not nearly to the degree that it used to. And it's not like I've stopped caring about it or that I've lessened my desires around it. If anything, my desires around it have grown and my vision has expanded, but I'm also more at ease and sort of content with where I am right now because I know exactly who I am and what I want without that thing. And that person, whatever, is not going to fundamentally change any aspect of who I am. He's just going to be a complement to who I am, someone who maybe allows me to access deeper levels of who I am or whatever. But like, there is nothing that's going to change about me or honestly, the quality of my life that much. Like it's going to be a deeper experience, a happier experience in some ways, but like fundamentally, I'm still me.
I think I speak for both of us when I say that at the beginning of starting a business and becoming coaches, we really I know I felt like that's going to be it. That's going to give me a sense of purpose and meaning and identity. I
preach this because we've done all the wrong things first. Like, don't get us wrong.
I know the appeal. I know the deep impulse and desire to figure out the work thing so that you can finally have that sense of, okay, I know meaning who I am
and zest for life.
And it's only by actually getting the thing that I thought was going to give me identity and meaning on silver platter that I had to realize.
Oh, it didn't do that.
Oh no, it didn't do that. And thank goodness it didn't, because now if I am a coach for the rest of my days, great. If I'm not, great.
Whatever.
I don't feel like I'm a lesser version of me if I am or am not coaching. I think coaching is one great expression of what I care about in the world, but I don't feel less than without it. And that's a really freeing place to be. I don't need that to feel that sense of inner calm and meaning. It's just a nice way to express it.
Maybe. Yeah. It might be the most ideal way right now to express a big aspect of who you are, but there could be a better ideal in the future.
And I got to tell you, there's so much freedom in that. There's so much freedom in not having that clinging, grasping, I need this to work because otherwise, who am I?
Waking up every day thinking about how you lack it and being almost tortured by the fact that you don't have that thing. Awful. Yep. I think we should challenge ourselves to answer, because I think it's only fair after everything we've just said to actually be like, okay, who are you without it, without your career? Who wants to go first?
Oh, that's good.
What do you mean
that's
it's good?
Really good?
You asked the question.
I know.
We held for 10 Mississippis.
And I know it. And yet, articulating it I know we gotta sit in our own 10 Mississippis here.
Well, we're not going to do that.
No.
Okay. I guess I'll go because you're struggling.
I'm just trying to put words around it.
Okay. So if you took away my career, I would still be, I don't know why this is the first word. Oh, probably because of the review we read. I would still be sassy. That's true. I would still be intelligent. I would still be funny. I would still have great connections and friends and, people who care about me and who I care about. I would still have all of the talent I have around coaching, like the talent to connect with people, to intuitively understand. I would have all of my witch powers. They would remain with me. I would still be a witch after all is said and done. I would have my love of stories and storytelling, indulging in a good story, telling a good story, talking, great at that. like would still be enjoy that and be good at that. Also, I would love being outside still. I love freaking nature.
You'd still be a truth teller.
I would be always telling. I mean, I've been that way since before anyone paid me to do it. I've been telling the truth since day one. So all of that would still be true about me. And I know some of that is like things I like, but some are also deeper, values. And I think that whatever, like, but all of those things are facets of me. And I mean, even if you took away all of my friends, I would be really sad and lonely, but I wouldn't like forget who I was. It depends on why they got taken away. Is it because I was mean? No, you know what I mean? Like, if they just all like, just, like vanished in like Infinity War kind of like snap. And then everyone
if we were
turned
in a
to
pandemic
dust.
And you didn't have phones and you had to literally isolate.
Right. I would still be me at my core, even without all the other people around me. I would still know what matters to me and what I care about and my essence. And so, yeah, like all of that would still be true, whether or not I'm making money from it or have a job like this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I would still be a deep thinker and somebody who cares about exploring my inner world and growing and becoming more conscious and more self-aware. I'd continue to be someone who is very empathetic and compassionate and understands people and is curious about people and genuinely wants to see people live more authentic lives. I would be someone who cares about probably the world too much in some ways, like feels too much, and who cares about animals and would just want to spend a lot of time with animals. Nobody pays me for that. That's just a part of who I am. That's like part of why I'm on this earth. And I still would be intelligent. I still would be, like you said, I'd be a good coach. I would be doing that anyway. I'd still be forgetful. Yeah. I'd still have systems, even just for doing chores around the house. I'd be keeping reminders and sticky notes.
2,000 years ago, she'd have like an abacus to remind her of things.
You like put like nails on the walls.
Like here's like a kernel of corn to remind me to feed the chickens.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I'd do that now if I had chickens.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'd be someone who wanted to spend time taking long walks and thinking deeply about things and reading books and reflecting and
making potions.
And yeah, I mean, I'd still have my curiosity. That's probably the thing that drives me the most is like, what am I most curious about right now? And it might just be a story that I'm reading.
Yeah, for me, it's what are you zesty about right now?
And that's why I'm not actually afraid of if I wasn't a coach one day, because I know I'd get curious about something else.
You get fired
and
up
I know
about something.
I'd go down a new rabbit hole. Yeah. And it would be another cool expression about the things that I care about and what I find meaningful in the world. So I'm not too fussed about it, frankly. Yeah. And me from 6, 7, 8, 10 years ago can't really fathom that. No. But it's a really cool place to be.
Yeah. It's very
internally.
Freeing. Let me ask you something, because I just had a big realization, or it feels like that to me. It might fall very flat.
I love
for
when we have
else.
Realizations on our own podcast. That means I guess it's working.
I guess. I don't know. If you talk long enough, maybe you'll have an ephany. That's the thesis of this podcast. Do you like yourself?
Yeah. Like I just like to hang out with myself.
Yeah. I like myself a lot.
Like sometimes that's my favorite thing is when I have an evening to myself.
Oh, fuck yeah.
I mean, I just like being in my own company.
I just stayed at our friend's house for 2 weeks by myself, and I've never been happier. Well, in recent memory, I have never been happier. So here's my theory. If you don't like yourself, you are going to try to find something outside of you to like, to make you like yourself more, and to make you feel more likable to other people.
There's 2 pieces of this. You're going to have to go either find something to mask the fact that you don't like yourself, because that is such an uncomfortable internal state, or you are going to morph yourself into whatever you think the world will like, or the job will want, or the person will want. And neither of those are going to work. One is avoidance and one is acting. And neither one gets you that sense of, I just know and like myself exactly as I am.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this too. I was doing, I've been doing some morning pages, not as regularly as Rachel. She's been doing them every single day.
I don't think I've talked about me doing morning pages yet, but I have
gotten back into it.
Yeah, I did it. I'm actually sincerely actually doing it, not just pretending to do it. Like I really am doing it. And it's wild. And maybe we'll do an episode about that at some point.
I think we should. But I've been doing them most days, but not every day. And I did this morning and it turned into a gratitude list. And I was thinking, I'm so grateful that I have everyone in my life who's close to me. I can just completely be myself. Like I'm just myself and people just like me and I don't have to people please or be anything else. And the only reason that that's even possible is because I like myself. And so I'm willing to just be myself.
Yeah. And I will tell you, as someone who has not always had that experience, like I've always been myself. Not everyone has always liked that about me. And that is sometimes hard, right? To be yourself and have people not like it. But there's no alternative.
Being yourself is one thing. Being yourself and liking yourself makes it even easier for other people to like
and also yourself. For you to be good if they don't.
Exactly.
You're like, you know what? That's your problem, sir or ma'am. Like, I like me. I'm sorry that you don't like you, which is why you probably don't like me. You know?
Yeah.
Like, so that might be another pause and sit with it for 10 seconds question. Do you like yourself?
Ooh. I know that.
And it might not be a binary. It might not be a yes, no. It might be I like these things about myself, but there are a couple of things I don't like about myself.
I think that would be my evolution. I think at some point I would have said, I don't know. And then I would have said, well, yes and no.
Things. Yeah.
And then eventually I've gotten to a point where I'm just like,
fuck yeah.
And I know I'm forgetful and I know I have issues. Like, and I know that I know
I'm a drama queen and I love
myself. Period.
She's great.
So you might have to go through the stages of yes and or no and or yes no on the way, and that's fine. But if you can't pretty rapidly say yeah, then okay, well, there's the work.
People who like themselves don't need something outside of them to provide them an identity. They just don't. They're not looking to fill a void. So they don't need a job to make them, feel a different way. They're not desperate for a relationship to make them feel other than how they feel. They're allowed to want deeply.
Sure. And knowing who you are is part of that is knowing what you most want.
Yeah.
And owning that and saying, this is me.
Not apologizing.
This is what I love. This is what I want. This is what I provide. I mean, like all of that is understanding yourself.
No shame.
But if it's, I don't know if I'm really likable, but if somebody hires me, well, I guess somebody thought I was.
Yeah.
Or if somebody dates me, oh, okay, well, at least somebody. So it makes you feel, at least in that scenario, maybe I'm likable enough.
Yeah.
But then what if they go away?
Yeah.
Or maybe I have to keep being a certain way to keep being liked. Oh, it's exhausting.
Yeah.
It's exhausting.
So
if you want to know why we do the inner work as most of coaching, and then it moves into now how do we make your external life reflect that? This is why.
I'm just gesturing like Vanna White to this entire episode. We just did.
This is why you can't skip the deep work and just go to the end result. You just can't. You can try. I know you probably have tried. You'll keep trying.
So maybe try being someone who likes themselves, because then you're not going to need to worship anything externally. You're not going to need to like make your life revolve in some hectic, anxious fashion around anything. You get to invest in things and spend your time on things because you want to, because they bring you joy. I'm not saying don't be religious. I'm not saying don't be a career woman. I'm not saying don't get married. I'm saying you do those things because they are an expression of what you like about yourself. And because they help enhance how you feel about yourself and the world, not because they give you an identity that you didn't feel you had before.
Yep. This is to give you a concrete thing to do what Rachel just said. I'm remembering something that I did years ago now, and I'd completely forgotten about it. I'd like to go look it up, actually, if I could remember when I did this. I, years ago, wrote something for myself that was just called the Kristen list.
What is it? I've never heard of it.
I don't know if I ever even told you. And it was just, this is me. This is what I like. This is what I'm good at. This is what I value.
I bet I know why you did that. It's because you were going through the process of trying to figure out who you were and what you liked about yourself. Because you, I mean, compared to me,
I had a longer journey to get here.
No idea.
Much longer journey.
No idea what you liked. You were a type 9 of the highest order who
hello, fellow people pleasers.
Yeah. No idea.
My people pleasers. I'm looking at you right now.
Yeah.
This is going to be harder for you.
Yeah. Yeah, you're often further away from...
Don't struggle with people pleasing. Rachel's never if you're a person, sometimes you feel the inclination to people please, but that's not been your challenge.
No, I kind of had barbed wire wrapped around my true self, but she was always right there. I knew exactly who she was.
Mm-hmm. So knowing who you are is not going to be as hard. Maybe accepting it will, but if you're a people pleaser, knowing who you are in the first place is harder. So yeah, I wrote, and I would add to it sometimes, like, Kristen likes this, and Kristen values this, and this is like the Kristen list, and it was fun.
I'm dying. I need you to find this list.
I know. I need to find it. God knows where it is. It's somewhere on my computer.
I need you to go search your MacBook after this. Like the whole file is just for the Kristen list, and we'll see if we can find it. That'd be
fun. But I think that
also,
would be
now my dad's phone is ringing, his landline, because they still have a landline, and like we're just gonna let it ring. It only rings for 3 Mississippis.
It's pretty far away too. 3 Mississippis, not a whole 10.
No.
So if that feels helpful, if you don't even know where to start, but you recognize that you probably need to do this work, try that. And if it's really hard to come up with anything to put on your Sarah list or
Kiki
list.
That's one of my nieces, is her nickname.
Sure.
It's
insert
ridiculous.
Name here. If you're having trouble coming up with anything, well, all right, we got some deeper work to do, but keep adding to that.
Okay. I think we should stop.
Mm-hmm.
This is
we gave you a lot to think about.
People are probably like walking away a little bit dazed, you know? Like they got like those Tweety birds flying around their head.
That's
like
okay.
In an old
this
cartoon.
One might be one of those that lingers with you for a few days.
You need to listen to it more than once. And I'm not just saying that because I like to get double podcast downloads. I don't even know if it registers. If it's the
I don't
same
know if it works
plays
like
it
that.
Twice. I don't think that's how it works, but whatever.
You have to undownload it, then re-download it.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, don't do that. Don't bother with that. But
yeah, let it sink in for a while.
I mean, who knew where this was going to take us?
It's one of our deeper ones.
Once again, I enjoy where this took us.
This is my favorite kind of conversation. Like getting to the core of what it's really all about. So
okay. Now I can hear my dad talking on the phone. So, well, you know, and you know what? Let me just conclude by saying I could not have gone through this insane last 6 months of like my condo flooding and having to move in with my parents. And like, it's been hard enough on me, like this journey. If I didn't like myself.
Oh my gosh.
If I didn't know exactly who I was without a house, without and I've also been, this is for a separate conversation, but you and I have been questioning a lot about how we run our business and what we really want. And
oh my gosh, if we were tied up in needing this and in this form to feel whole, these would be impossible conversations that we're having.
I think that the only reason I've been able to sort of weather the difficulties of the past, almost a year, to be honest, like if I'm counting from when things got really crazy, maybe 8 months ago. Because I really hit it all, didn't I? In the past 8 months.
Oh yeah.
I hit what happens if, you sort of get tied up in a relationship-y type thing. I got hit with, who are you without a house? I got hit with, who are you when you have to live with your parents again and you're not 13 and you're a grown ass person.
When you're rethinking
your whole career. I've got hit with all of it, like almost at the same time, like within months of each other, every single one. And I'm still me. Like I've never Like I have a very firm foundation of, I know exactly who I am. I know what I care about. I know what I deeply value. And now I just need to figure out what's the next expression of that in all of these areas of my life. And I will be okay for now without any one of them because I'm me and I like me and I'm good with me. If you can be that, you can do fucking anything. I promise.
And we can't stop life from being life and throwing chaos in your midst because that's what it's going to do. But we can make it way easier to move through it because you're not then getting triggered into an identity crisis because life turned upside down on you.
One more story. Sorry. I promise I am wrapping this up, but I have a client who we're like maybe 2/3, 3/4 of the way through coaching. So she's like toward the end, right? Maybe we've had like 9 out of 12 of our sessions. And we started out a few months ago and it hasn't been that long, right? It's been like 3 months, maybe 4 months since we started coaching. And she got on the phone a couple of days ago and she was like, I'm just really happy. And I don't know why. And I was like, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
She was like, nothing's changed really. I still have the same job. And like, she goes, but I'm so much happier. And I was like, yeah, you want to know why? I mean, I didn't say it like this, but today I'm like, because you like yourself now.
Yeah.
And you didn't. And I know for a fact, and she would be sitting here solemnly nodding with me if she was here. She did not like herself on day one when I met her. Like, I think she wanted to. I think there were so many things about her that she didn't like. And now she's found peace and forgiveness and acceptance with who she is. And she's letting go of stuff that she doesn't feel like she doesn't need to be shamed by anymore. You know, she's embracing, this is who I am and I feel great about it. And all of a sudden, she's now like, the world is my oyster and I have all these options and I can quit this job if I want to. I'm not trapped here. And she's happy. And she's like, I don't know why I'm happy. I'm like, you don't need to know why. You're happy because you're finally like aligned with and at peace with yourself.
Yes.
And now what's going to happen next is just going to be a result of you being aligned with and at peace with yourself and liking yourself. That's it.
I'm nodding along because that's the feedback we get so often is this surprise of, nothing's changed yet, but I feel so much better.
And I like my life now and I'm happy. And what's up? I'm like, that's.
And then maybe I'm still curious about, now what could I do? Or now, but
and my boss still kind of sucks, but like, it's not like the biggest problem in my whole world anymore.
It's not, doesn't trigger you into this whole crisis of,
I don't even an identity crisis anymore because I know who I am.
Yes.
And I like who I am.
No.
Well,
we know it's the hard work, but we also know that, there's so much relief on the other side. I mean, that's like, it's worth it just for that. I'm just happy for no reason. And nothing's really changed. I just feel immensely better. Yeah. Yeah. That's what it'll do. That's why we're pushing doing the deep stuff first.
Okay. Well,
that's all.
Just that.
Just leave you with all that to process. Let us know what comes up because I know this was not heavy, just like
it was
intense.
Deep.
It was intense.
It was deep. It was intense. It was
meant to be a little bit of a wake up call, though. Reality kind of perspective shift.
This podcast is the marriage of us liking ourselves.
Yeah,
and our business, right?
It's
the things you like about you, it's the things I like about me. And it has become its own entity that we also like.
And other people like. It's just great.
Right.
So cool things will come out of liking yourself and accepting yourself.
Okay.
Well, we'll be back next week. I don't even know with what. We'll be back.
What will we be back with?
Probably an interview?
No, a message from the universe.
Oh, that's fun.
If this wasn't one already, which it probably was. But yeah, we'll be back next week with a message from the universe.
Okay. See you then.
Okay, bye.